Week number 10 of the NFL season. We have got 28 teams playing this week with 4 teams on bye, those being the Cleveland Browns, the Green Bay Packers, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Seattle Seahawks. But that means we have 14 games this week, headlined, I guess, by the Sunday night game between the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans, and a huge game on Sunday morning between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Washington Commanders. And before we get into the 14 predictions for week number 10, folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more weekly NFL predictions here on the channel. It helps out the channel a lot if you just hit that subscribe button down below and leave a like. We are about 750 subscribers away from 20,000, so make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get to 20,000 as soon as possible. And if you haven't yet, folks, go make sure to check out our college basketball best bets. We're going to be doing this daily on the channel. If you like the NFL predictions, you'll probably like our college basketball picks as well. Yesterday or today, I gave 5 best bets for the college basketball slate, and I plan on doing this every single day for the rest of the college basketball season all the way until March. And the same can be said about the NBA. We predict every single NBA game. We predicted all of them today, headlined, of course, by the Warriors and the Celtics in Boston. And then yesterday, we posted our college football predictions, so link to that is in the description down below, as well as our UFC Magny versus Prates predictions in the UFC Apex on Saturday night. So all those links are in the description down below. And now we get into the first of our 14 games, and we start things off with Thursday Night Football. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, we're taking the Ravens to win this game, but we're taking the Bengals to cover. If you remember, these two teams' first game of this season was about a month ago. It was in Cincinnati. It was the game the Bengals had. I mean, they go to overtime, closely contested game. They go to overtime. Lamar Jackson fumbles. Evan McPherson gets set up for about a 55-yard field goal to win the game. He misses. The Ravens get the football back. First play from scrimmage after the McPherson missed kick, and given it was kind of a holding mess up, not a McPherson's fault. But anyways, first play back, the Ravens get the football. Derrick Henry rips the ball about 60 yards downfield, sets up for a 30-yard Justin Tucker game-winning kick. I'd expect this one to be close again. I understand the game's now in Baltimore, but I would expect this to be a very tightly contested ball game. I get it, the Ravens, they blew out the Denver Broncos last week, and the Broncos, I think, finally reverted back into what we thought they were, and we'll get to the Broncos later on today in their game with the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think they kind of reverted back to what we thought the Broncos were going to be. It was a 31-point domination by the Baltimore Ravens. Again, showing why they're one of the best teams in football. It's just weird because, again, the Ravens are 6-3. We are talking about them like they're one of the best teams in the game, but they have losses to the Cleveland Browns and the Las Vegas Raiders, which, again, doesn't make all that much sense considering where the Raiders are now, considering how the Browns, since that Ravens win, went on to lose to the Los Angeles Chargers at home. And I get it, the Chargers are great. They have an awesome defense, but I don't know. The Ravens are a weird team. I'd expect them to beat Cincinnati. I don't think they cover the spread again. It's an AFC North division game. You know these two teams are going to play each other very tight. I don't think either team wins this game by more than 6.5, but ultimately, I think the Ravens are the better team. Hey, Derrick Henry, guys, has a legitimate chance to crack 2,000 rushing yards this season. I think there's a good chance he will do it. And you look at the way, again, the Ravens are playing. Lamar Jackson is playing lights out. I would make the case, I think a lot of people would, he is the most valuable player in the NFL right now. I mean, hell, my MVP race is Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jared Goff. Derrick Henry would be 4th, but the 3 quarterbacks are the top 3 guys. And I get it, Goff's numbers aren't great, but again, trust me, I will give my weekly talking points about the Detroit Lions later on in this video on Sunday Night Football. But yeah, we're going with the Baltimore Ravens to win this game. The Bengals, I think they'll get T. Higgins back this week. If I'm not mistaken, he should be back. Actually, no, he's doubtful to play on Thursday with the short week. So they're still without T. Higgins. I get it. Joe Burrow's been playing great. Mike Gesicki had a big game yesterday or on Sunday. 2 touchdowns against the Raiders. But I think the Ravens have enough to win this one. I like the running game. Derrick Henry's been playing lights out. Same can be said about Lamar Jackson. Give me the Baltimore Ravens to beat the Bengals, but I don't think they cover the 6.5. Of course, that will be in the favor of the Bengals. Okay, let's go on to Sunday, and we go to Germany. The Carolina Panthers. Why am I wearing a Carolina Panthers jersey? I found a $30 Teddy Bridgewater jersey at Ross a couple years ago. This is a Teddy Bridgewater jersey, so I bought it. And to be honest, I just put it on. It was in my closet. It's still the tags on it. Because, I mean, in all fairness, like, what function am I pulling up to with a Panthers Teddy Bridgewater jersey? Like, I'm just saying. I don't know. That's my fault because I bought it. But hey, here's the usage. Anyways, we got the Panthers taking on the New York Giants. Shout out to Carolina, man. I've not been a Carolina hater this year. I've been a Bryce Young hater because I've always thought Andy Dalton's the better quarterback, but I want to give all the credit in the world to Bryce Young. I was happy for Bryce Young finally picking up a win, beating the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints are another issue we will talk about in a minute. But honestly, it wasn't that great of a game by Bryce Young. I mean, it was a really stereotypical Bryce Young performance. I mean, 16 for 26 passing, 170 yards, a touchdown and a pick. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. But good for him, he won. And now, again, Bryce Young, hopefully, if anything, that gives him confidence. Winning a division game at home. But now you got to go to Germany. Now, I am taking the Carolina Panthers to beat the New York Giants. I know I am. I know the Giants have been playing better football. Daniel Jones looked all right in that Commanders game. Finally scored a touchdown at home. Malik Neighbors, again, has not had a huge game since that Thursday night game against the Dallas Cowboys where he got injured. So we are still waiting on that. Only 60 yards last week against the Washington Commanders. And we knew the Giants were not going to beat the Commanders. Again, the Commanders, we've been talking about them all year as being a serious threat in the NFC and really in the entire league. Shout out to Tyrone Tracy. He's really, gotten it going for the Giants. He's been a lot better. But the Giants have not won a game since somehow they upset the Seattle Seahawks in Week 5. They lost the Bengals, lost the Eagles, lost the Steelers, lost to the Commanders. I get those are good teams, but now you got to go all the way to Germany against a Panthers team. And if you are ever going to pick the Panthers to win a football game, guys, it's right now. It's right now because they have all that momentum. Bryce Young, his confidence is never going to be higher this season than right now. That's why I'm taking the Carolina Panthers to win the game in Germany. No home field advantage on either side. The Panthers seem fired up. I want to give a huge shout out to Chuba Hubbard, who's been playing lights out this season. Hubbard has been the best part of this Carolina Panthers team. Jonathan Brooks should be back. I don't know if he's back this week or next week. I've been waiting on Jonathan Brooks, the rookie out of Texas, every single week. Regardless, give me the Carolina Panthers. They're coming off a win over the Saints. The Giants aren't much better. Give me Carolina to win in Germany. We are taking them to obviously cover the 6.5 points, and we're taking them as plus 250 dogs. I would expect this line to close at about -4 for the New York Giants prior to game time or kickoff in Munich, Germany. Okay, let's go on to the Patriots going to Chicago to take on the Chicago Bears. So we have successfully predicted the last two Bears losses. I've mentioned this in prior videos, but I have done weekly parlays. And again, I have not disclosed those to you guys because honestly, I don't make up my mind until the night before the games. And I don't have one for you right now. I'm going to be honest with you. If you would like it, I guess put a comment in the comment section and maybe I'll reply on Saturday morning or Saturday night. Now, again, I've hit 3 in a row. I've hit 3 big parlays. They're nothing crazy like when you think about it, but I mean, last week, hey, we had a plus 886 parlay. We hit Bengals money line, Lions money line, Eagles money line, Cardinals money line, Commanders money line, Titans money line. The weekend before, we hit on a plus 976 5-legger with Detroit money line, Philadelphia money line, Buffalo money line, Commanders money line, and Packers money line. And the weekend before, we hit on a plus 842 parlay with the Eagles money line, Chiefs money line, Colts money line, and the Lions money line. That one I didn't have to put that many games because I mean, hell, the Chiefs were minus 105 dogs against the Niners at closing. The Lions were minus 105 dogs against the Minnesota Vikings. So regardless, we have hit on big parlays every single week. And my point that I'm getting to is that I picked against the Bears in back-to-back weeks. They've been part of the parlay. Now, the Chicago Bears, I'll tell you this, they're going to be part of my parlay this week. They are not losing to the New England Patriots. And yes, the Patriots, I picked against them last week. They're part of the parlay. Yes, I trusted the 1-win Tennessee Titans to win a football game, but shout out to them. We'll get to them later. I'm picking the Bears to absolutely dismantle the New England Patriots. Again, Chicago's lost back-to-back. They've been embarrassed in back-to-back weeks. Not in the Commanders game to the point where, they just got blown out. Well, they were getting just destroyed. They got manhandled, and then somehow they scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Regardless, it was just 2 touchdowns. Regardless, they lose in the Hail Mary at the end of the game. And that Cardinals game, they just got completely slapped. I mean, that was horrible. It was a one-sided beatdown in that game. DeMarcado breaks that big run at the end of the first half. You gotta think the Bears are gonna bounce back. Caleb Williams has not had a real good game. Odunze's been playing lights out. He can't get the ball to DJ Moore. Keenan Allen has his plays. But I would expect the Bears to completely run through the New England Patriots here. Drake May, great game last week against the Titans. Great game until the interception at the end of the game. But May played really well. He had 100 yards rushing, which is crazy. I feel like the Titans could never get off the field on third down because of the scrambling ability of Drake May. Again, I think Drake May is going to be a good football player in this league, but I think the Chicago Bears win this one. The Bears have the better team. Again, they have fallen back down to earth since their excellent start. How they were 4-2, and now they're 4-4. I think, again, they're going to win this game against the Patriots. They're 6-point favorites. I think they cover that too. The game's in Chicago. I'd expect the Bears to finally put an end to this losing and beat the Patriots here in week number 10. We go on to our next one. We go to Indianapolis. We have got the Colts taking on the Buffalo Bills. I don't think there's much controversy around who the starting quarterback of the Colts is. I get it, Joe Flacco did not have a great game against Minnesota, but how can you possibly go back to Anthony Richardson? The guy tapped himself out of a football game. Legitimately. How can you go back to Anthony Richardson this season at the quarterback position? He's got a C on his chest for captain. He could have just said he was hurt. He should have said it. Now, I'll give props to the guy for being honest. He was just tired. But 2 weeks ago, again, that can't happen. Joe Flacco is a proven winner. Joe Flacco has won a Super Bowl before. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. He has to be the starting quarterback of this Colts team. However, this is a rough game. The Buffalo Bills are playing great football. They are. The Bills have gone on a 4-game winning streak in New York, against Tennessee, against Seattle, and against the Dolphins. I'd expect the Bills to win again. Josh Allen's playing great football this season. I mean, again, he's been one of the MVP, candidates this season. I would obviously expect it to be Lamar Jackson. We'll get to our other guy, Jared Goff, later. But Josh Allen's been playing great football. He's thrown very limited interceptions, and with the receiving core that he's been given, he's been doing a great job as well. Obviously, Amari Cooper has been added to this team. He did not play last week against Miami, but you got Keon Coleman, the rookie out of Florida State. Khalil Shakir's been playing great football as well, and Josh Allen's found ways to make it work. I think he's going to find a way to make it work against the Colts. You look at what Indianapolis has, obviously, right? Losing to Minnesota is a game that they could not get the offense going at all. Now, my argument about Richardson versus Flacco is, guys, Flacco would not have, Richardson would not have done any better in that spot. Truthfully, I don't think he would have done any better in that spot compared to Joe Flacco. I don't think so. That's my honest opinion on that. I don't think anything would have changed in that game. Because again, Flacco struggled, sure. But Richardson, when you pressure Richardson, I think he's going to have a long night. And I really just didn't think he would have gotten much going in that game. Right? Yeah, he's going to buy you yards scrambling or whatnot. But I think, again, Joe Flacco is still the guy for this team. They couldn't get the run game going. They couldn't really throw the ball much until the end of the game. I would still expect the Bills to win this one, though. The Bills are the better team. They have more weapons, and the Bills, again, are built to win. The Colts, they are, but Indianapolis' schedule's rough, guys. We said this last week. Bills, in New York, Lions, Patriots, that's a win. In Denver, they've got some tough games coming up. And if they're going to be a borderline wildcard team, they're going to have to start winning. I don't think they win this week, though. I think the Bills are the better team. I like what Josh Allen's able to do. I think the Bills go into Indianapolis and win this one. Give me Buffalo to win and cover the spread as well. Next up, we go to Kansas City. We've got the Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos. Kansas City keeps finding ways to win football games. Obviously, right? The overtime victory last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had Kareem Hunt in fantasy. I had a 10-point lead going into Monday Night Football. My opponent had DeAndre Hopkins, and D-Hop puts up a casual 25 points. That touchdown at the end of the game in the fourth quarter from D-Hop, I thought, sealed it. The Bucks pushed the game in overtime, and the only way I could have won was with the Kareem Hunt touchdown, and I did it. Absolutely hilarious. The Chiefs are 8-point favorites this week against the Denver Broncos. Honestly, I don't think they cover it. I know we picked the Broncos last week to cover against the Baltimore Ravens. That did not go our way. Now, huge difference. Division game, bound to be close, and the Chiefs don't blow anybody out. Simply put, they don't blow anybody out. Now, 8, I think, is fine. The Chiefs only beat the Raiders by 7 points. That's a division game. They only beat the Chargers by 7 points. They beat the Bucks by 6. Going back to early in the season, beat the Ravens by 7 points, beat the Bengals by 1 point, the Falcons by 5 points. The Saints game and the Niners games are outliers, but again, I think the Broncos are able to stay competitive in this football game. And it's not because I'm sold on the Broncos. I really am not. I still am not sold on Bo Nix. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, all right? I'm not sold on Bo Nix. But the Broncos defense is really good. Now, the Ravens exploited it. The Ravens were able to march the ball up and down the field. But, guys, that's the Baltimore Ravens, and they're one of the best offenses in football. And I get it. They're the Chiefs. Still, their offense is lacking. It is. Mahomes had a better game last week. Kareem Hunt, they could not get him going until the fourth quarter. Kelsey had his best game all season. I get that. And DeAndre Hopkins balled out as well, 2 touchdowns, and had an incredible catch to get them down to the goal line, where eventually he caught the touchdown pass in the second quarter. I think it was the first. I don't know. I get the offense is, they're going to keep on improving. I think they still struggle to put teams away. That's my thing. They're going to keep winning games. Seriously, look at the Chiefs' schedule. I think it's 15-2. They'll lose next week on the road in Buffalo. Whoops, if I gave away the pick. And I think they lose on Christmas on that Wednesday night against Pittsburgh. It's just a weird game. I think they'll lose it. Other than that, I think they go 15-2. I think they are on their way to the number 1 seed in the AFC, most likely. Unless the Steelers somehow win out, which they're not going to, or the Bills too. I doubt it. I would expect the Chiefs to, go 15-2. I think they beat the Broncos this week. I think they will have their close games, and we'll see. We'll see if they're able to keep this momentum pushing to the playoffs. They have played a relatively weak schedule so far, I would say. Actually, no. They beat the Ravens. They beat the Chargers. I mean, those aren't bad teams. I think they're going to get got in the postseason, I'll be honest with you. But right now, I think the Chiefs are going to continue to win. Patrick Mahomes, again, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, not having a good stat-wise season, but Mahomes, again, finds ways to win. I mean, they're getting comparisons now to the Patriots, right? And the fact that Brady and Belichick just knew how to win football games. No matter what the lines were, no matter, how Brady performed. The difference between those Brady years and these Chiefs, this Chiefs season is Brady would still be leading the NFL in all those passing stats. He wouldn't have 9 interceptions and 10 touchdowns. That's the difference. Now, the Chiefs are playing great football. I think they win this game. But again, they aren't able to just get away from teams. All the division games they've played so far this year, they won by 7 points. 8 points is a lot. I know it's on the road for the Broncos, but their defense keeps them in this game. We'll see what Bo Nix is able to do. But I do trust this Broncos defense and what Sean Payton's able to put together. I think the Broncos keep the game tight. They don't lose it by more than 8 points. And again, in all fairness, the Chiefs are they're due to lose a game that they're supposed to win. Now, the Bills game next week, we'll see where the odds are at. But this is a game where they're getting 8 points. They got 8 points against the Bucs, and they almost lost. I'm just saying they're kind of due for one. I'm taking the Broncos to cover, but ultimately we're going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to win the game. Next up, we go on to New Orleans. Oh, man, the New Orleans Saints. Dennis Allen has been fired. He is gone after starting the season 2-0. The New Orleans Saints now find themselves at 2-7. They just traded Marshawn Lattimore to the Washington Commanders, and they take on an Atlanta Falcons team that is well on their way to winning the NFC South. I think they got very lucky that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans got hurt at the time that they did. Atlanta is well on their way to win the division. They are coming off back-to-back victories over the Buccaneers and over the Dallas Cowboys. They now go on the road to the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints can't get anything right. And no Chris Olave this week. Rashid Shaheed is injured. Bub Means is injured as well. Their top 3 receivers are all out for the year. Oh, actually, no. Olave should come back at some point. But Shaheed and Means are out for the year. We will see when Chris Olave comes back. But obviously, with that concussion and being stretchered out of that game against the Carolina Panthers, it's rough. It's rough for New Orleans. You see what they have in this game against the Falcons, right? Atlanta 6-3. These two teams have played earlier on in the season. It took a game-winning drive from the Falcons and a game-winning kick from Younghoe Koo to push them to victory in that game. The Falcons are now 6-3. Kirk Cousins has been playing tremendous football this season. Again, he's been doing what it takes for them to win football games. Darnell Mooney's had a great year. Kyle Pitts has had the year that we've kind of expected him to finally have, even though it still hasn't been, the level of hype Kyle Pitts had at one point in time, but still, Drake London's playing great football. Bijan Robinson has been excellent for the Falcons as well. They're just the better football team, guys. The Saints, without their top 3 receivers, Derek Carr has not been playing phenomenal football. He was great in the first couple weeks of the season, but he came back last week and didn't look all that great. Again, the one bright spot is Alvin Kamara. I mean, Kamara, again, has a resurgence this season. Last week against the Panthers, 155 rushing yards, 60 receiving yards. Kamara has been playing great. The difference, though, in this game is going to be the offense of the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think the Saints are going to be able to score. They've struggled to score the ball in the last couple weeks. I mean, hell, they've lost 7 in a row. They're going to continue to struggle. Even before the Carr injury, they were struggling as well. I like the Falcons to dominate this game. Division game, sure, but give me Atlanta to cover the 4.5 points on the road. They're just significantly the much better team in this game, and all the momentum is on the side right now of the Atlanta Falcons compared to the Saints. So give me Atlanta to cover and give me them to win the football game as well. Next up, we go to Tampa Bay. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Can the Niners officially start putting some wins together, right? Great win 2 weeks ago before the bye week against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Excellent win, 30-24 victory for San Francisco. It's a step in the right direction. Are they going to finally start stringing together these victories, though, is the question, right? They're 4-4. They have not won back-to-back games yet this year. Can San Francisco finally do that? They get a Buccaneers team that has been playing inspiring football, but still hasn't won without Mike Evans and Godwin, which is rough, but they've been playing close games against really good teams. And unfortunately for Tampa Bay, they have another really good team this week. Now, after this game for the Buccaneers, they have a legitimate chance to run the table. I think this team can actually go 11-6, if not 10-7. They might lose in Los Angeles to the Chargers. But look at their schedule after this game. In New York, in Carolina, at home against the Raiders, in LA against the Chargers, in Dallas on Sunday Night Football, home against the Panthers, home against the Saints. There is real hope. If Mike Evans comes back this week, I don't think he's going to. He will come back next week in New York, post the bye week. There is legitimate hope for the Buccaneers to actually run the table with Mike Evans back. I think there is. I think there's actual hope. I don't think Tampa's out of it. They had a great start. They started the year beating the Commanders and the Lions, who are the two best teams in the NFC right now. And they beat the Eagles. The Bucs have wins against the three best teams in the NFC right now. They lost to the Falcons in a close game. Lost to the Ravens, lost to the Falcons again, lost to the Chiefs in a very close game. There's hope for Tampa Bay, guys. There's hope for Tampa Bay. They're either 11-6 or 10-7 going to the postseason, and they are a wild card team, and they shock a division winner. There is legitimate hope for Tampa Bay to do that. They're playing great football, man. Even in the losses, Baker Mayfield has found a way to get the ball to his weapons. You know, Cade Otton's had a huge couple weeks. Sterling Shepard made a big catch in the fourth quarter. They still can't run the ball. That's fine. Let Baker go crazy. Now, it's a rough game for them this week. The San Francisco 49ers, again, the 49ers have underperformed all season long. Can they finally rise to the occasion? My answer to that question, I think, is yes. I'm willing to bet that the Niners are able to get back and running. Christian McCaffrey's back. Now, there's been discussion amongst 49ers fans that is Christian McCaffrey really all that valuable to this football team? There's no question that he's valuable, but to what extent is he valuable? Because the way Jordan Mason's played, because of the way Isaac Guerrero has stepped in. Like, do they really need McCaffrey? Obviously, he's nice to have, but is he essential to them winning? Obviously, I don't know. But I think it's going to help, right? I think it's going to help. George Kittle has had a huge season all year long, obviously, right? You know also, by the way, Nick Bosa is going to be fired up for this football game, right? I mean, post-election, the game's in Florida. I mean, this is paradise for Nick Bosa, right? This is amazing for him. Brock Purdy, again, played a good game last week against the Cowboys. The Niners did choke in the fourth quarter like they have multiple times this season. I think they'll beat Tampa Bay. I think they'll cover the spread as well. It's five. No, they're not going to cover this. 5.5. We're going to take Tampa Bay to cover just because Tampa Bay's been close. I think the Niners win this game by about a field goal. Just because of the Niners' inability to close games late. And on top of that, again, they've just played a lot of close games this season as well. Again, the Niners trying to string back-to-back victories for the first time this year. Can they finally get it done? That's the question. I think they will. Tampa Bay's been playing well, and it is in Tampa, so I'm a little bit concerned for the 49ers. This is not my most, confident pick. I think there's a definite chance that the Buccaneers win this game. I might add this to the parlay in the sense where I go Tampa Bay like plus 10.5, because I don't think this game's going to be a blowout, because Tampa Bay, again, the way they throw the ball and the way that they're able to stay in games makes it hard for anybody to blow them out. But ultimately, I will go the 49ers to win the game, but I am taking Tampa Bay to cover. So give me San Francisco to finally get their fifth win, to finally, again, start stringing together victories. Next up, we go to, I think, the game of the day. I think it is. Game of the week. The Washington Commanders host the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going with the Commanders. We're going with Washington to win this game. We're putting this probably in the parlay as well. I'm taking Washington to do it. They've been playing close football games, but they've been winning football games. Jaden Daniels should be in the MVP race as well. I would say he's probably number 5 for me, behind Derrick Henry. But shout out to the Commanders. They went out and got, obviously, Marshawn Lattimore. The Steelers went out and got Mike Williams, so 2 trades and 2 new pieces for both these teams. How much will Lattimore and Williams play in this game? I don't know. But Jaden Daniels is a winner, man. He finds ways to win football games with his legs, with his feet, and the Commanders' defense has been playing pretty solid as well. Of course, 3 straight wins for the Commanders. I get it. They have benefited from a pretty poor schedule. Carolina, Chicago, Giants. But look at their wins prior to that. A win in Arizona is huge. 42-14. The way that they beat Arizona. Guys, the Cardinals are in first place in the NFC West right now, and the Commanders absolutely decimated them. In Cincinnati, going there and winning, I don't care what the Bengals' record is, going to Cincinnati and winning in prime time. That's a big deal. It's a big deal, and the Commanders did that, right? Washington's playing great football. They get the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are also playing great football. They are undefeated with Russell Wilson being the starting quarterback of this team. Now, Justin Fields had this team in a great position too, but Russell Wilson's 2-0 as the starting quarterback. Now, given he got to play both New York teams, the Giants and the Jets, but George Pickens has excelled with Russell Wilson at quarterback. Najee Harris has had his 2 best games of the season. That's not 100% a Russ thing, but it's the threat of the pass now that really sets up everything for that offense. And Najee Harris has now had back-to-back 100-yard games. The Steelers are playing good football. Their defense obviously is lights out. They have one of the best defenses in the league, obviously led by guys like TJ Watt, but obviously that all-around defense is amazing for them. I think Washington, though, wins this football game. I think they do. The game's in Washington. The Commanders are at home. I think they do get it done. I think the huge game is next Thursday, Washington and Philadelphia in Philly. That's a huge divisional game that might dictate, honestly, who is in position to win the NFC East this season. But give me the Commanders to go out there and beat the Steelers. I like what Jane Daniels does. I like, again, the way Dan Quinn has this team playing. Their defense has been playing really well as well. I mean, hell, look at the points that they give up on a weekly basis. 22 to the Giants, okay, but sure, they were in position to win that game in the entirety. 15 against the Bears, 7 against the Panthers. I mean, they played three quarters of really good defense 2 weeks ago against the Chicago Bears. Obviously, Caleb Williams got those guys driving in the fourth, but the Commanders play great defense. They have a, kind of a three-headed monster running back. It's really just Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. Jeremy McNichols gets involved too as well. Again, we'll see how much Lattimore plays this week. Obviously, that's a huge get for their secondary. Terry McLaurin has been playing lights out week in and week out. Zach Ertz has been a great tight end for them. You look at what Noah Brown's been able to do, past that, just the Hail Mary catch, but Noah Brown had 60 yards last week in New York. I like the Commanders to go out there and win this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they truly established themselves as a legit contender this season. Give me the Washington Commanders to win at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they will cover the 2.5 points as well. Next up, we move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Minnesota Vikings. The Jaguars played competitive last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. They fell behind. They fell behind by a lot early, but they came back and they kept it close, and they had a chance to win that game in the fourth quarter. They did. They were they had the ball at the 15-yard line. Trevor Lawrence throws the interception, and the Eagles win the football game. It could have been a monumental collapse by the Philadelphia Eagles, and I will get to Nick Sirianni in just a couple games. Trust me, I will have my things to say about Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles in a minute. We'll talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars here. The Jaguars have been playing competitive football back-to-back weeks against the Packers and the Eagles. They have lost close games. I think the Vikings go into Jacksonville and beat them. I think this is a great spot for the Jaguars. I think it is. And I was very close in this pick, but ultimately I am going to go with Minnesota to win this game on the road. I wouldn't bet on it personally because I think there's a very good opportunity for the Jaguars to win this game. The Jaguars are due for a win. They've been playing tight football. Their record doesn't really indicate how good the Jaguars are playing. They're 2-7, but they've been playing tight football the last 3 weeks, and they've been playing pretty well. Now, they got to go to Detroit next week, which is another thing. But again, the Jaguars have a really rough schedule. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I mean, this stretch, man. Packers, Eagles, Vikings, Lions, Texans. Wow. That's brutal. It just is. It's a brutal schedule for them this season, and it's unfortunate they couldn't steal some early in the season, but even early in the year, too, they had tough games, man. Miami, Cleveland, Buffalo, Houston, Indianapolis, Chicago. I mean, those are rough games. Give me the Vikings to go out there and win this game. Obviously, we didn't know the NFC North was going to be as good as it is this season. But give me Minnesota to beat Jacksonville on the road here. Sam Darnold's still playing good football. He's winning games for this team. They have the best receiver in football in Justin Jefferson. He's by far the best receiver in the game. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Aaron Jones hasn't had a big game in a while, but it's fine. The run game's still doing what they kind of need it to do. We just need Darnold to have a big game this week, and I would expect him to do that. Justin Jefferson, again, 137 yards last week against the Colts. This is a team in the Vikings that couldn't score in the first half. Now, also, they couldn't kick a field goal either because Will Richard missed 2. He is now gone the injured reserve. I don't know who the new kicker for the Minnesota Vikings will be this week. If they have one, is it Ryan Wright? No, that's their punter. Wait, is it Ryan Wright? No, he's a punter. Yeah, I don't know. Matthew Wright's the guy that the Niners had. Yeah, they don't have a kicker right now. I don't know who their kicker is going to be. Regardless, they'll get some veteran. Who knows? They'll get, I don't know, who's a free agent kicker right now? I can't think of one. Will Lutz is still in the Broncos. I don't know. Regardless, they'll find somebody. There's a bunch of kickers out there that are looking for jobs. Maybe they can get Chad Ryland if the Cardinals get rid of him. But honestly, they should keep him even when Prater comes back. Ryland's been playing really well for the Cardinals. And the Vikings are going to be fine. Again, they couldn't kick a field goal in the first half. That's how they got shut out, but they scored 21 points in the second half. The Vikings are fine. They're going to play good football, and they're going to win this game against the Jaguars. I get it. The Jaguars have been playing better, but give me Minnesota. They have 3 straight road games, but they're winnable games in Jacksonville, in Tennessee, and Chicago. Those are winnable games for the Vikings. I think they go out there and beat the Jaguars, and I think they will cover the 4.5 points as well. Next up, we go to the afternoon games. We have got the Los Angeles Chargers hosting the Tennessee Titans. I don't know if Will Levis is back or not. Again, I'm still waiting on Will Levis. This was supposed to be Will Levis's breakout season, and it hasn't really been that, unfortunately, for my guy. But we'll see. Mason Rudolph won them a game last week. It wasn't really Mason Rudolph. He wasn't really the reason they won. It was Tony Pollard. Pollard's been the reason they win games. Well, actually, they've only won 2, but he's the reason they won those 2 games. Calvin Ridley's been playing better, obviously. I do think the offense is better with Will Levis. I think now there's no pressure on Will Levis, too. I mean, he's playing for a 2-6 team. I think if he plays this week, they cover. The Titans actually have a really brutal schedule coming up, too. They've got Los Angeles, Minnesota, Houston, Washington. Oh, my goodness. Damn. The AFC South just has a rough go of things. I'm going to be honest. They just have some rough teams they have to play. I think regardless of who the quarterback is this week for the Titans, they cover the spread. This is a Titans team that, just moves the ball downfield methodically. Even if they don't score, again, it takes them a while on their drives. Tony Pollard, again, runs for 4 yards a carry, 3 yards a carry or whatnot. I think the Titans are a tough team to blow out. Now, actually, the Lions and the Bills just to do that. But for the Chargers, I think it's a tough team to blow out. I think it is. Right? Los Angeles coming off a victory over the Cleveland Browns. They won it by 17 on the road. That's fine. I'm going to take the buy low spot here for the Titans, even though I guess not a completely buy low spot. But, the Chargers coming off a 17-point win. They beat the Saints before that by 18 points. I think the Titans do kind of stay in this football game. I think the Titans are playing way better football. Again, their record, like the Jaguars, really doesn't represent how they've been playing recently. I get it. They got blown out by the Lions. But even in that 52 to this is going to sound crazy. In that 52-14 loss, there were signs of improvement for the Titans. Why? Because they lost the game on special teams. That can be fixed. Special teams can be fixed. Their offense looked better. Their defense, they were given a short field every single time. I mean, Jared Goff had 30 yards to score a touchdown every single drive. So, what are you going to do? But I think they found something with Calvin Ridley, which obviously, Pollard, just run him. Just run Pollard into the ground. And I'd hope Levis comes back this week. We will see. And I think the Titans stay competitive in this game. The Chargers are playing great football, though. Their defense is tremendous. Justin Herbert's been playing really well, even, with the limited options he has a receiver, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston. Herbert's doing his thing. J.K. Dobbins is running the ball. Obviously, he's cooled down since the first 2 weeks of the year against the Raiders and the Panthers, obviously. But no, the Chargers are playing good football, and the Chargers should win. I just think the Titans are able to keep this game close. I think 7.5 is too much. Give me the Chargers to win, but give me the Titans to cover the spread. Next up, we go to Dallas. We've got the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm going to make this very clear so I can go on my Philadelphia rant in a second. Make this very clear. I have no doubt in my mind that the Philadelphia Eagles win this football game, okay? I don't think they lose. The Cowboys have been playing piss poor. And actually, I'll have a lot to say about the Cowboys in a minute. The Cowboys are playing piss poor football. They're horrible. Dak Prescott said they effing suck. Micah Parsons, I guess, might be back. Who knows? They're horrible. Cooper Rush is now the starting quarterback. It's even worse. This is rough. Yeah, it's going to be rough for the Cowboys, right? Cooper Rush is playing. That means no victories. Now, Nick Sirianni, gotta be the stupidest coach in the NFL. There's so many mistakes this man made. I think, who was on commentary? I don't remember. Was it Romo? It might have been Romo. I don't know. Whoever was on commentary. No, it was Jason. It was Jason McCourty. Nick Sirianni was trying to outsmart himself. He was. I mean, they had so many spots in that game. 4th and 3 at the end of the game. Up by 5 points. You can take the field goal or you can punt. The Jaguars have no timeouts. You take the 58-yard field goal at Jake Elliott and he misses. You give him a short field. Luckily, the Eagles won because they got the interception. But again, I was relying on this as the last piece of my parlay, by the way. In a game that they were up, 18-0, 20-0? And this is how they played? 22-0, I think it was? Yeah, ridiculous. They completely fell apart in the second half. Now, A.J. Brown's injury hurts them, obviously. Brown should be back this week. Saquon went out for a little bit, obviously. Again, Saquon had the play of the year. I mean, a backwards hurdle is absolutely insane. But Sirianni, there's a play call earlier in the game. They have a 4th and 1. Oh, tush push. No. They go sprint, roll out, play action fake with Jalen Hurts. This team runs the ball better than anybody in the league, it feels like right now. And also, if you pick one team in the NFL that you can pick, you can have any team, need a yard. Taking the Philadelphia Eagles. Tush push. Easy. Sirianni's trying to outsmart himself. Now, they'll beat the Cowboys because the Cowboys absolutely suck. This will be a huge game for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been a fantasy all-star this season just because, again, his rushing yards, obviously like every year, but especially this year too. He doesn't really throw the ball that much, but he runs, and obviously he gets those 1-yard tush pushes for touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, again, is probably the best fantasy quarterback in my opinion, and I'm not just saying that because I have him. And I have A.J. Brown too, so, Anyways, the Eagles will dominate this football game. This is a blowout. This will be not as bad as the Lions blowout that the Cowboys suffered, but it will be pretty bad. Guys, this team just isn't good. They're just not a good team. They're 3-5 for a reason. No Dak Prescott this week. That means no victory. CeeDee Lamb is questionable. How motivated is CeeDee Lamb going to be to play in this game without Dak Prescott? I don't know. He's questionable. We'll see. Brandon Cooks is still not off IR. They traded a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo. Hopkins went for a 5th-round pick. Mike Williams went for a 5th-round pick. And the Cowboys, or a 6th-round pick. And the Cowboys traded a 4th for Jonathan Mingo. I mean, there's a viral clip of Bryce Young throwing an out route to a crossing route to Jonathan Mingo. And instead of catching the ball like this towards the sidelines, he turns his hips back towards the sidelines and tries to, completely turn around and catch the ball. It's horrible. You've seen it. I'm sure you have. Give me the Eagles. Give me the Eagles to cover the 7 points. The Cowboys are absolutely atrocious right now. Their defense can't stop anybody. The Eagles, we will be able to run the ball up and down the field and then catch them over the top with A.J. Brown eventually. Jalen Hurts is going to dominate this game. Give me the Philadelphia Eagles, who are playing great football. Again, they're good. They've won 4 in a row. I've picked them every single week in my little parlay. I've picked them 3 in a row. I'm probably going to pick them again, even though there's not much value in this. They're minus 360. Regardless, the Eagles are the much better football team. The Cowboys are absolutely atrocious, and now they're on a backup quarterback. Cooper Rush isn't bad, but still, no trust. Next up, we move on to the Arizona Cardinals and the New York Jets, the final afternoon game. We are going with the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Devontae Adams went on a podcast yesterday. I think he makes weekly appearances on the K Adams podcast. And Devontae Adams said this has the feeling of 2016, I think it was, run the table. Okay. Are the Jets going 11-6? No. They're not winning this week. I think they're going to struggle in Miami. They still have the Rams, and they have the Bills in Buffalo. I don't know. I think they can go 10-7. I think they can. Will that get you in the playoffs? We'll see. Shout out to the Jets. They beat the Texans. They beat an injured Texans team on Thursday Night Football in a short week. Again, I'll give credit to where credit is due. It was a good victory. It was truly a good victory for the Jets. Devontae Adams finally has a breakout game. That's what they needed. Aaron Rodgers had a really good game as well. But still, New York scored 21 points. Their offense is still struggling. They finally had a breakout late in that game, but they still struggle. Guys, the Arizona Cardinals, I keep trying to say it, the Cardinals are a really good team. They're 5-4. They came off a domination, a one-sided beatdown of the Bears. Now the defense is showing out. Kyler Murray, again, is having his best season since that year that they started 11-0 in 2021 and then ended up, losing in the playoffs in the first round in Los Angeles. This is the best Kyler Murray we've seen in a very long time. Fully off the injury. They've given him weapons with Trey McBride, with Marvin Harrison Jr. They've allowed Kyler to now officially just play like Kyler. I think the Cardinals beat the Jets, guys. The Jets have to go cross-country, all the way from New York down to the desert in Arizona. The Cardinals are playing great football. The Cardinals' defense is showing out, and Kyler Murray has the offense moving the ball as well. I'm taking Arizona. Right now, guys, the Cardinals are my pick to win the NFC West. They really are. I like the way the Cardinals are playing, and I really like Kyler Murray. James Conner is having a huge year out the backfield as well for the Cardinals. I think they beat the Jets. Again, the Jets, there's no reason the Jets should be favored in this game, guys. There's no reason. There's absolutely no reason they should be favored to win this game. On the road, they've won 3 games this season. They beat an injured Texans team. They've had one good game. They just lost the Patriots 2 weeks ago. I'm not sold. I'm not a Jets hater at all. I cheer for Aaron Rodgers every single week. This week, though, I'm cheering for the Cardinals. Well, because I'm going to bet on them. But I don't see a world where the Cardinals lose. I see a world where the Cardinals lose this football game, but I don't see a world where they shouldn't be favorites in this game. There's no chance. They have too many playmakers in that Cardinals team. The Jets' offense is too inconsistent. Their defense has their nights, but I think, again, Kyler's scrambling ability and the way he's able to move the ball out the pocket, I think the Cardinals will be fine in that regard. Yeah, I just don't trust the Jets to win this football game. Give me the Arizona Cardinals to win this game at home. Again, if it was in New York, I would consider taking the Jets. But the Cardinals are at home. It's a long flight over for the Jets. I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals to win the football game. They will obviously cover the 1.5 points. They are at dogs. Give me Arizona to win the game. As we move on to Sunday Night Football, we've got the best team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions, taking on the Houston Texans. Now, guys, I have coined one team in the NFL, the best team in the NFL, and I have coined one team in the NBA being the best team in the NBA at the beginning of the season. I said it was the Detroit Lions in the NFL, and I said it was the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA. Look at them both right now. The Thunder are undefeated. I hope they beat the Nuggets tonight. We'll see. But look at the Detroit Lions. 7-1. Their 1 losses to the Buccaneers week 2. This team goes on, they have to play at Lambeau. Jared Goff's on the road. Well, Jared Goff with 2 gloves dominates the Packers. And I get it. Goff doesn't have the best statistical games, But he manages his way to win football games. They don't need Goff to have huge games. When Goff needs to have huge games, he has those big games. The Dallas game, the Seattle game, the Cardinals game, the Lions game, the Rams game on opening night. Jared Goff can have his big games. They just don't always ask him to do that. This is a game where Jared Goff's going to have a big night. Because this is a dogfight for the Lions. I think it is. On the road, Sunday Night Football is a big game. And the Texans are going to, put up a fight. But ultimately, the Detroit Lions are the better football team. Guys, the Detroit Lions are the better football team in every single game they play. And this is the question I pose to you. Jared Goff takes his team to 16-1. His stats aren't great, but he's 16-1. Jared Goff is, leads the NFL in passing completion. He might break the all-time record in a single season passing completion record. Breaks Drew Brees' record. Is Jared Goff the MVP if this team goes 16-1 compared to what Lamar and Josh Allen are doing? And Jaden Daniels? At 16-1 on a 15-game winning streak, I'd make the case he is. I don't think the Detroit Lions lose another game the entire season. And that's all the way to the Super Bowl, guys. That's all the way to the Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions do not lose another game. Their run game is so dominant with Montgomery and Gibbs. And Jared Goff makes all the right plays. That throw to Amon-Ra, back shoulder in the end zone, back corner in the end zone, tremendous. 24-14 victory over the Packers. Their defense playing lights out as well. And now, you get the addition as well of Zadarius Smith. And now there's rumblings that if they get to the Super Bowl, Aiden Hutchinson on one side, Zadarius Smith on the other. My goodness. They're only getting better, which is a crazy and a scary sight. The Detroit Lions are only getting better. And for the Houston Texans, this is a team that lost last week to the Jets. I get it, the injuries, right? No Stephon Diggs for the rest of the season. I don't know if Nico Collins is going to be back this week. If he is, it'll help them. If not, they're screwed. Because it's only Tank Dell that CJ Stroud has. Joe Mixon will continue to be, the guy they rely on to have big nights on the ground. But CJ Stroud has taken a step back this year. He has. I thought, I kind of predicted that at the beginning of the season. But it is what it is. I get it. He's only really got one, big-time receiver to throw to, and it is Tank Dell. 126 of Stroud's 191 passing yards last week were to Tank Dell. But they struggled to score the football. They, Mixon was, carrying the load, but it's hard to win football games like that. And you know who it's even harder to win football games against? The Detroit Lions. When you're trying to figure it out with injuries, the team you don't want to try to figure it out against is Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. The Lions will run the football down their throat. They will go play action. Jared Goff's going to have a big night. Truly. The Lions will dominate this football game. I think it'll be close in the first half. I think the Texans will score. But in the second half, that's when the Lions pull away. The Lions win this game by 13, 14 points. 3.5 is not enough. Give me Detroit all night long. They are the better football team. Jared Goff will go out here and win this game for the Detroit Lions. Again, they are the best football team in the NFL, and they continue to prove it on a week-by-week basis. Back-to-back victories in huge weeks. Actually, they have the Titans in between, but still, back-to-back victories on the road in the division against the Vikings and the Packers, who are two very good football teams. Guys, what else can I say about the Detroit Lions? Best team in the NFL. Until I'm proven otherwise, this team is winning the Super Bowl, and Jared Goff is getting into the Hall of Fame because of this season and because of what the Lions are going to do down the stretch in the next decade. Give me the Lions. They will continue to dominate. Detroit wins the football game, and they cover the 3.5 points as well. As we go on to our final game of the week, Monday Night Football, the Miami Dolphins travel to SoFi Stadium to take on the Los Angeles Rams. Two teams that, again, the records don't dictate how they are currently playing. The two teams who are playing great football right now. I know the Dolphins have lost 2 in a row with Tua back, but again, we said it throughout the duration of Tua's injury when Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson were playing. This team needs Tua Tagovailoa, and obviously that's apparent. Tyreek Hill has finally had some decent games. Still not what Tyreek Hill did last season, but Hill's having good games again. Devon Achane is fully back in the swing of things as well for the Dolphins, and of course Tua's at the helm. The Dolphins are playing better. The problem for the Dolphins is they run into a red-hot Los Angeles Rams team. They just do. The Rams, again, they were very hurt to start the season. No Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua. They are both back. The offensive line is, slowly coming back together. And now you get a primetime game on Monday Night Football in Los Angeles. Guys, I'm taking the Detroit Lions in every game. I'm taking the Los Angeles Rams. I am. Matthew Stafford looks back. Obviously, you give him his two top weapons, and Demarcus Robinson has been breaking out as well for the Rams. Had 2 touchdowns last week against the Seahawks. Had the game-winning touchdown in Seattle as well in overtime. I know they kind of choked at the end of that game. Came back and won it in overtime. Good for Los Angeles. I'd expect the Rams to beat the Dolphins. It's a long trip over for the Dolphins, obviously, from Miami all the way over to Los Angeles. You go from Florida to California. That's a long trip. I think the Rams get the job done in this one. I like what Matthew Stafford's been doing, with his receivers back, with the offensive line slowly getting patched back together. These last 2 weeks for the Rams have been ultra impressive. Kyron Williams is, still running the ball fairly well. It's a game changer. It's a huge difference for the Los Angeles Rams when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are in the lineup. It just is. You get 2 of the top 10 receivers in the NFL back for Matthew Stafford. I sure hope they win football games, and that's what they're doing. I get it, the Dolphins are better. This is gonna be a fun game. It's gonna be a high-scoring game. It's gonna be a close game. But ultimately, I do expect the Rams to get the job done. I think they have too many weapons on offense, and again, it's the added bonus of this game being in Los Angeles and the Dolphins being from Miami. That's why I'm gonna side with the Rams to win this football game. Again, I think the Dolphins keep it close. I like what they're doing. Again, I would like to see Jalen Waddle, officially, finally involved in the offense because he really hasn't been all season long. Waddle's been very disappointing because he doesn't get targets. Obviously, he had the injury against the Bills, but came right back in. I think it'll be close. I think the Dolphins are getting back on the right step, but the problem for the Dolphins is they're running out of time. Because if they lose this game, they're 2-7. You can play as good a football as you want down the stretch, but ultimately their record's 2-7. And that's what sucks about the Tua injury. They lost that game against the Titans. They lose to the Seahawks. Games that, maybe were winnable, but they lose it. And the Colts. Games that could have been winnable, but they just didn't have a quarterback and they couldn't run their full offense. Give me the Rams, though, to win, even with the Dolphins at full strength. I like the Rams to get the job done. Give me Los Angeles to win the game and give me them to cover the 1 point, obviously, as well. Rams victory. And, folks, that'll do it for our Week 10 NFL predictions here on the channel. Thank you all for watching the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back next week for week number 11. Folks, thank you all for watching. And Mamba, forever.